The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.
Hi, I'm Gali Bloch-Liran and welcome to The Human Founder, the podcast where we speak about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs often describe the emotional roller coaster that is embedded in being an entrepreneur or investor, where you experience the lowest of lows when you reach to a point in your career when you understand you have to make a change, and the highest of highs when you create your own venture from scratch. And it's from that place of uncertainty, the need to constantly self-manage ourselves, keep up our energy and be mentally resilient in order to deal with everything, well, it's not easy. In each episode, I will be talking to entrepreneurs, investors, psychologists, being their sounding board, with the goal of creating a space for this less spoken about layer, which is the mental aspects accompanying the entrepreneurial journey. I will also share tips and tricks to help boost your focus, clarity, and mental resilience. So today I have the pleasure to speak with Mor Assia and Shelly Hod Moyal, and I'm really happy and thrilled to have you here with me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So thanks for coming here. Let me introduce you. Mor, you're an accomplished entrepreneur, investor, and tech expert, and 88200 and Columbia MBA alum. You founded iAngels and served as a co-CEO to bring international investors to strong founders in Israel and further build the Israeli tech ecosystem. You sit on the board of multiple companies, private and public ones, including the board of governors of the Technion. Prior to igniting your career as a software engineer, you danced professionally at the Bador company, and we'll talk about it, the Bador Dance Company. You remain active in the art as a philanthropist and a friend of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. And together with Yoni, your husband, you have 5 children, and we'll speak about it soon.
Excellent.
Shelly, you're a finance and investing expert, having built your career at Wall Street prior to co-founding iAngels together with Mor. As a co-CEO, you worked for global investors to invest in some of the Israel's best startups. As a GP and Kellogg MBA alumna, you hold numerous board positions and actively involved in bringing value to iAngels portfolio companies. You live in Tel Aviv, and together with your husband, you have 4 children, and it's amazing, and we'll talk about those 9 children. And you're also a member of the Yedidim at Batsheva and Tel Aviv Museum of Art, as well as at the Laniado Hospital. So thanks again for coming and being here with me. And I want to begin maybe in asking you when, where, how was this moment when you start to dream of what happens really today about this reality of iAngels. Take me to this moment where it all began.
Maybe it was a few moments. It was like a collection of moments. Well, I'll take even a further step back. So Shelly and I, we know each other from New York, and we were very, very close friends even before it all began. So we started talking and thinking about kind of like the challenges that we see with investing in Israel well before we kind of, decided to pick up the glove and say, that's it, we're doing it. So the challenges and the way, just think about it, it was almost 9 years ago on how really people engaged with the Israeli ecosystem and invested here, just from us coming from these big organizations where there's discipline and best practices. To us, it looked like a jungle, and so many, difficult challenges for investors to engage with Israeli founders. And for me personally, I was at the time working for Amdocs corporate strategy, and Shelly was working for Goldman Sachs investment banking. And we were both really happy. We loved our jobs. We loved having, that corporate back and being able to do like really big things. But at the same time, I personally felt that many of the roles that I filled until that moment were kind of too narrow for what I felt were my abilities to bring to the table. Many times I would have these conversations with my superiors, and I would say, but I want to do this and I want to do that, and they're like, but it's impossible. It's like 2 people's jobs. It's not possible to do this and that, and to bring that multidisciplinary approach to the kind of like the one job description. And I felt that, it's kind of like the organization wasn't benefiting from everything that I had to give. And at the same time, it was making me kind of upset that I was having like a hard time, but I wasn't fulfilling kind of my destiny, I guess. I don't know how to say it. And so after I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was talking about it with Yoni, and I was talking also about it with Shelly about this idea about how potentially to build something from scratch and to kind of try to bring forward a new innovative approach to investing. I decided that was the right time for me to explore. So instead of going on a maternity leave, I was trying to kind of figure out if this was a path that I wanted to follow. And I didn't even finalize that exploration process. It was like in such a short amount of time, but I decided that this is the risk that I'm willing to take, and I really wanted Shelly to be my partner in this journey.
Take me to this moment when it's your second maternity leave, right? Or first
I don't know if to call it a leave.
No, but it's like after your second child, and there's a lot on the stake, and you're a young mother, and you think now about this new path. You want to validate it. You want to see how you're gonna approach it, and what is it within you that gives you the energy and the decision to make the will to make this decision and go get it, go make it happen?
It's very difficult, and I think all mothers can attest to the fact that when you just have a baby, it's like the days, they kind of like disappear on you. It's like the hours, it's like you just got out of your pajamas. Yeah. It's like, it's 6 o'clock or whatever p.m. So it takes really a lot of discipline to decide to carve out the time. And when Shelly and I started, we both were had very, very young babies, and Shelly's sister would babysit our daughters so that we can make the time and that we can sit down in front of the computer and dedicate ourselves to it. And it's a real commitment. It's very, very difficult. It's difficult to do anyways, but I think it's even more difficult to be in a position where you need to potentially nurse every 3 hours, but also write, product roadmap or a business plan or a deck. And was very, and Shelly's daughter was even younger than mine, like 4 months younger, so it was even more challenging.
So that was like this moment for you. And Shelly, how did you go through it? What was like in your mental state that made you decide that this is the new path that you want to pursue?
So I always had a drive to do something of my own at a certain point. I imagined it more at around this age. I'm in my late 30s, and less of back then. I felt that I was still young and I was still in the beginning of my career, and I still have so much to learn. That being said, after I had my first child, I came to the realization that I can't continue where I was, and it kind of dawned on me. And it got me thinking and exploring, and I knew that Mor was thinking about this idea of bringing of connecting between startups and investors and creating a professional way to invest globally, digitally, transparently, and I was very inspired by it. First of all, because I came from an investing and finance background, so I had an opportunity to experience the finance system from many different directions, from the buy side, from the sell side, from a fund, I was dealing with public companies, private companies, and at the same time, I grew up in Israel. I have a network here and people that I went with in the army, and I really felt that we can be together, that we can be a bridge, also because of our complementary experiences and skill sets. And I always admired Mor very much, and kind of watched her grow and kind of leave the stardust behind her. And I said, hey, maybe it's probably a good idea to partner with this one.
So take me to the moment where did you actually meet back then for New York, or it was just New York?
We had a nice story actually. We met in New York. There was a meeting between young professionals, Israeli professionals. I think we were about 50 people at this law firm, Shibolet, New York, and everybody was kind of talking about themselves and more. And I remember when Mor was talking about herself and Shmona Matayim and Bador and she was in the dance company of Columbia Business School and she was a software engineer, and I was like, wow, this girl is like
so many talents.
really special. And after that exchange, I actually came to her and I said, listen, we need to be friends, and the rest is history. Like, we were friends since then, and
now we're family.
Yeah, now we're family. now we're literally sisters.
So from France, that you met together in New York, from France, what was the thing for each one of you that made you see a potential partnership with each other? Because there's a huge difference and gap between being friends and being partners. It's also something that happens a lot for founders, for startup founders, that they may think that because of their friends for so many years, they can be good partners together, but it's not necessarily the situation. So what was it for you that you saw in each other, the superpower, the major strength, whatever, that ignited you to see that there's a base for a very good collaboration and partnership?
Yeah. So first of all, obviously, the incredible talent and the fact that I saw in Mor many things that I didn't feel that I have in the same way, like very strong sense of self and confidence and belief and optimism. And I'm also optimistic, but I saw something in Mor's spirit that I felt would work very well with my kind of analytical, detail-oriented. Like, I felt that this could be a good mesh. But beyond that, she's like the only person that's as crazy as me. I mean, like,
so you're being crazy good together.
Who does
exactly?
What did you feel that she's the completing skills that she has to who you are? What did you feel that she brings into the equation?
I feel that she has a very original and rational and logical way of thinking of things and analyzing things, and I feel that the dialogue between us really sharpens my thinking and teaches me things about myself and about the world, and that relationship has created a lot of personal and mutual growth for both of us.
And Mor, for you?
Well, first, I mean, Shelly was probably one of the smartest people I knew. And she just, she didn't say it, but at Goldman, she was working like 22-hour workdays. She is my superpower. She has like unbelievable capabilities, and I did feel like we're both coming from like the different enough backgrounds that we would complement each other in a way that we don't step on each other's toes, yet we both have this thirst to learn and evolve and develop, and we're very open to hear each other's opinions because they matter to us. And I think many times, I totally respect the fact that Shelly can have her own opinion, and sometimes it won't be my opinion. But we have a very strong mutual respect and admiration and love and values that allow us to engage in probably anything. Like, we can talk about anything openly. We can decide to disagree and still, love each other. And early employees, they were like shocked by this. They were, there was one employee that told us, like, listen, it doesn't matter how many hours I spend with you. You guys communicate on like such a complete different wavelength that nobody can really penetrate that kind of dialogue. You don't even need to talk. You already know what the other person is thinking. And another person that was in our investments team, she was, in the room and really a very strong force in the investment committee. And she would be floored by the fact that we would get into the room and we would be able to, completely disagree. And it sound like we're very upset, or like, I'm not doing this, or she's not doing that, or like, we're not doing this, or we're in complete disagreement. And then we'll walk out the room and like, so I'm gonna go grab lunch. And like, it would totally be cool. And she's like, you just guys, like in that room, it sounded like you're not gonna talk for a week and then you're just out of the room. Like, okay, let's go grab lunch and everything is fine. So I think that's a very strong capability to be able to talk about everything, be very receptive to feedback, appreciate the other person's feedback, and also take it into consideration to begin with. Like, Shelly already knows when she's in a negotiation process with a founder, she already knows what I will say. She already knows what I would say about that, and she takes it into consideration. And I do the same thing, or I try to do the same thing.
You're describing really beautifully, actually, the great communication that the two of you have. Now, first of all, it's not obvious at all. And I listen to you, and I wonder what does it has to do with the fact that you're two women? And I do think that the level of communication that we can create with each other, and the openness and the ability to see each other, like you said, while negotiating with founders, you already see and understand what she would think about it and vice versa. And you put it into consideration. And yet, even when you don't agree, so that was the meeting, we disagree, we even maybe spoke louder a little bit, we closed the door, that's it. No hard feelings, no ego, we can continue with our day. And it's really, first of all, admirable, and I think it creates such a good atmosphere and an opportunity to work together in a really strong collaboration. And I really think that this is something that you have like unique for the two of you, the lowest or deepest level of communication that you really see even the little things. I mean, I saw you earlier before we just began, and we had some conversation, and how you complete each other, and you understand the small bits and bytes and what each one think about it. But in order for this to work in a very, very not smooth, but like holistic and good way, I think there's also has to be a lot of trust.
That's what I was just going to say.
That's what I was
just going to say. You took the words out of my mouth. Because this is the underlying...
The baseline of everything.
The baseline of communication. You have to trust that the other person has your best interest at heart. You have to trust, even if you're in disagreement, even if you would react completely differently. And this, I think, took a lot of training, self-training, for both of us.
It wasn't. It was natural for you, in general, or
no,
specifically.
For me, it wasn't natural. I mean, for me, I like being the center of attention. I like, having the stage. I like being heard. I like being recognized, and I have an ego, and to be able to kind of put your ego aside, and also really, really understand that the other person has your best interests at heart is sometimes incredibly difficult. And it really takes time to, first of all, learn and feel and build it. But once you have it, it works like magic. It changes your life, actually.
Just think about it in a way, if people want to think about it in the most like practical or simple way, when you have an engagement with a potential partner or a customer, and how would you act differently if the transaction only happened one time, or if this was a repeated transaction? And if you know that this is the partnership that you want for life, the transaction is every day or every hour.
It's not a transaction.
It's not a transaction, exactly.
It's
so
ongoing.
it's continuous. It's continuous. And so the only way for us, once, we both understood that this is what we want for our lives, it's not a stepping stone in our career. This is our career. This is our life. This is like what we will build together is what we will have and what we will share. And so once we understood that this is it, it was only going up. It was only going up.
It's actually kind of like marriage, because when you're in a marriage, you quickly understand, especially when you have a lot of kids and stress, that in order to make the marriage work, you actually need to really work at it and really make an effort to make the other person happy. That's your other job. And that only works if you're actually always thinking of the other person. And it's very easy for people in those kind of relationships, marriage or entrepreneur or partners in business. It's always easy to look at your own side and to be frustrated and to say, why did this person not do that and this person? And I really remember the point even in my marriage where I stopped nitpicking on like, did you do this? Did you do that? Like I just stopped doing those things. And at once I stopped doing it with everyone that was important to me in my life, and it just changed all my relationships. And I think that is very important as well, that you're in a relationship and you see your job. Part of your job is making the other person happy, because really these relationships are like the foundation of everything else in your life. They're like, imagine a tree. They're the building blocks. If that's strong, everything that branches out of that can be beautiful. And so your job is to make sure that foundation is very strong. And if it is, then, sky's the limit.
I want to reflect something that you said really beautifully. I'm not even sure if you notice it while saying it, but I don't know many people that have the courage and the self-esteem to sit or stand and say into the mic that I have an ego and I like to take the stage and I want to be in the center of attention. And I had to train myself that if I want this partnership to work, I need to make a room for someone else to be there with me. And that means that I need to fine-tune the way I bring myself into this situation in order for this whole partnership and togetherness to really be valid and strong for the long time. And I think it requires, first of all, so much bravery, but also self-awareness, and really see the end game, the end result. Where do you want it to go? What do you want to happen? So you understand that you have to start to work on it from now, and you have to build it in the right way. And like marriage, like you said, if we want someone else to be happy, we need to take it into consideration all the time. And partnership, whether it is in the private life or the business life, I always say that everything we do is a negotiation with our children, with our business partners, with our founders, that while we create this business deal. And a good negotiation is not the one that everyone are unhappy with their thing, It's the one that we get to the point that we're happy enough, and no one had to let go too many things, but we find the sweet spot, the good place that everyone are happy. And in order to do this, we need to see the other.
I can tell you that we're very strong negotiators. It's kind of like, a pastime of ours. It's something that we enjoy engaging in all the time. But I think what we like to say is that when you have a hand that's dealt, the way that we are never satisfied with like a hand that's dealt, because we feel we can always pull another card and change the entire situation. So it's never, I feel like when, as you said, if both sides might be a little bit not at ease, then maybe we can draw another card, and maybe we can try to map, the situation a little bit differently. And I think we're very good at doing that. We also do it with founders. Founders, sometimes they think there's like only one thing on the line, and all of a sudden, we engage in conversation, and they understand that it's a combination of so many different things. How you want to choose a partner, it's an array of so many cards, not just evaluation or not just that single person. You're getting, the partnership is worth much more, and it can be comprised, or like a good deal can be done by, touching many, many different elements. And that I think we try to do very well. And I agree with you completely that, everything can be a negotiation, with your children, with your spouse, with your partner, but we don't go into it as such. Mm-hmm. You can't every day, every interaction say, okay, this is like a negotiation. I'll do this and you'll do that. And this is how we'll settle. No, you need to every day, mm-hmm. every day, bring the best that you can bring.
That's true.
Do everything in the best possible way.
And also see the best of the other party that you want to engage with.
Exactly. And the other person will know mm-hmm. that you came every single day and did your best.
That's true.
And I think that changes completely the reality.
And this is a mental muscle that we have to train, because as human beings, sometimes the easiest thing is to think that it's not on my benefit. He thinks from his point of view or her point of view. Sometimes this is our nature, and it's to be the greater person and to think in a more constructive way, that to know and to feel that the other person, partner in life or in a crime or in a business, did his utmost in order to bring the best
possible result.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And this changes the mindset, and it really creates a much better way of living, and our well-being is nurtured in a much better way. And I really think it's a state of mind that we need to train all the time. Now, the other thing that you said, you spoke about strong relationships. And I totally agree with you. This is the basics of everything. And we have to nurture it also with our investors, with our clients, with our users, all the time, to be in a very, very high level of listening to the situation, to the other part feedback, to the other part needs. And that creates a very strong foundation for strong relationships. And once our relationships are in place, so everything is much better with all parties involved. Mm-hmm. But there are also rainy days. So how do you fight? Okay, you're two very assertive, very charismatic, and very successful women. And sometimes we also don't agree, with our partners in life, right? Not everything is smooth. So how do you manage it? Because, we have various kind of emotions, and not always everything is great. And we also have to allow those bad feelings or more negative feelings to express them. Mm. So how do you manage it?
We haven't fought in such a long time, to be honest. Do you
define a fight?
You mean, yes, fight? Is it like a vikuach? Argument?
Conversation?
An argument? An argument?
Well, when you disagree about something which is very, very crucial to one of you, or that you see things in a very, very different way, and you don't succeed.
Usually I know that Mor, when she's annoyed and upset, I know that she needs a breather. Mm-hmm. So historical me would continue digging and WhatsApping and new me and new me will see that Mor is upset right now. She needs to think. She needs to gather her thoughts. She needs maybe to talk to Yoni. She needs a couple of days. And today I have much more patience, and I don't need to solve everything at the same moment. I have my personality is a very achieving personality. I need to execute. I need to deliver. I need to finish. I need to have resolution. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this is another thing that really is very complementary between us, because Mor always takes the time to really think and analyze and really understand what she wants to do and what she thinks is the right course of action, which is great. And my knowledge of that is, this is how I usually deal with those kind of situations. And then usually a day or two later, we just talk it out and move on.
Yeah. And also we have to remember that it's not like we were running a business. We're running a big business. We have a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of employees. We have a lot of customers or investors, and we have a lot of obligations at home. And we are trying to navigate, everything and make sure that everything is not only survives, but thrives and exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that, conversations or arguments that we may have, okay, we might disagree on something that happened in the business, but it's not that we don't love each other. It's not that we don't appreciate each other. And it's not that we can't, even talk about these things also. Like, and again, it's very true. I like to take a breather. I don't like to, say what I think exactly at that period of time and like be over emotional. I try to kind of understand what annoyed me in the situation, or what I didn't like, or what I didn't approve, or how I would have solved it differently. Like when I was young working at SAP, I remember every time someone would come to my manager with a problem, he said, like, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. It's like, you can say I have a problem, this is a solution. It's like, so I like to analyze and think about things more deeply, and try to identify what I didn't like about the situation, what I thought, a possible resolution could be that would settle both me and Shelly, and we already kind of, know how we both operate. So even if we have a disagreement about something in the business, I mean, we still really, really love each other and really care about each other. And, and that, and our partnership, or our, the way that we are with each other. Sometimes we call it like, I have a husband and I have a wife. So I like these two like very, very demanding relationships. So this relationship is something that I value, and I'm I work at it, and it's important to me. So, but I want Shelly to be happy. I want me to be happy, and I want her to also know that I have her back, even when even when I might not approve about everything. And she knows that I have her back.
By the way, the key though to not get into a fight is to not get insulted. Because if you take it personally, and you're insulted, and something hurt your feelings, then it goes kind of back to the ego part. Like, if you're able to let go of the ego, and even if something annoyed you didn't take it to heart, then you won't end up fighting. So,
by the way, we had a great example where we both were in a meeting, and we came out, and I'm like, wow, that was like so annoying, that what just happened? And Shelly's like, no, I totally did not see it that way. It was like, that did not happen from my perspective. So we both came out, and we had a completely different understanding of what happened in this room, and the same situation. And we talked about it, and Shelly's like, wow, I didn't think about it this way. And I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't think about it this, maybe is that what he meant? Is that what he meant? So it was like, so that can also happen. So we both have like different perspective, and
So you said I'm writing because I have so many thoughts about what you said right now, but you said few beautiful things. First of all, understanding that you two are different in the way that you respond into situations, and understanding, and I totally understand where you're coming from, and I was also like that I always love to solve the things and get into resolution, and you have to hit it now. But to learn how to breathe, and give time to this, and analyze it, and respect that this is Mor's nature. And she needs a little bit air in order to analyze it, and to give a space for what she needs. That's amazing. And also in life, for founders and investors, when they are dealing with those kinds of situations, so taking a pause and thinking about it through, and we're saying let's go to sleep about it, right? We need the night to sleep this through, and to think about it, and come to with more clear understanding. So it's really a great tool in order to reflect, and to take a breath, and to come to it when we are more clear about the situation and where it takes us. The other thing that you said is really, you don't call it in this name, but you bring it so much into the conversation, the perspective. The perspective, that understanding that you care about each other, and you love each other, and you appreciate each other. And if we're coming from the right places, and we know where we want to go, so we take everything, in a perspective.
Mamash.
We don't break, the tools. We don't shout on each other. And sometimes founders, they forget it, They forget that they actually are good together, and they have the same vision. They want to go to the same place. And sometimes the ego they control.
Shelly and I never shout at each other.
And first of all, this is very important, because
Doesn't happen.
True, not cynical.
It's true.
No.
We'll raise our voice sometimes when we're not.
But not at each other.
Yeah.
It's like, I won't. We also, it's a discipline also that we carry it through with our engagement with employees and also with our families. With kids. It's like also a decision. We talked about it maybe a few years ago. I remember I told Shelly, I'm like, if somebody would screw up at work, I would never yell at him. So why if like my kid, like he spills like my coffee on the carpet, why? Well, how does that achieve anything? How does that achieve anything if I yell at him? What is that?
This is the moment that we really have to, this is where we are adults and we're really being examined in these situations because it's not easy. And the automated response is,
take a breath.
But it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's just when it's with your kids, you reflect on it and like, I'm an idiot. The 2-year-old scribbled with a marker on the wall. And you're like, you find yourself yelling at him, how dare you, and how ungrateful you are, and then you go to sleep and you're thinking to myself, the kid is like 2 years old.
and really like train ourselves in those exact
and you
moments.
Feel insulted. You took it to heart.
Exactly.
He took the marker and he scribbled on my wall and he did it to me.
I did this a few years back that I decided I'm not yelling at home, and I don't want my kids to remember mommy yelling at the house all the time or getting upset. And it's okay for me to get upset. I can get upset, but I can tell him, mommy's upset, or really I didn't appreciate you doing this and this and that, but I don't need to yell. They know that I'm upset, and I can totally give feedback and reflect. Or I remember one time you can also speak very firmly without yelling. That's even more intimidating, by the way. So I remember one time I did that to my 7-year-old, and he's like, why are you yelling? I'm like, I'm not yelling. I'm talking to you like this. It's called a firm talk. It's not yelling. And I was talking like I did not raise my voice at all, but he, in his experience, he's like, he understood that mommy's upset, and it's okay, but I don't need to yell. Don't need to yell or raise my voice. I can coherently explain what happened, what I expect him to do differently next time. Be constructive, just like we do with employees.
Exactly.
Because the end result, or like that understanding of what just happened and how can I do things differently or get to a better resolution is what you want, is the end result that you want. You want to teach your child.
And this is where growth happens.
Exactly.
Only in the moments that are difficult for us to manage, but we stop, we pause, we stop the automatic response, and we think how do we want to respond in a constructive way, and then we do it both with our children, entrepreneurs, workers, employees, and it really creates a difference.
I remember I've had like my babysitter spent some time with us over the summer, and my 4-year-old, he would like mommy all the time, like mommy, and every time he would say mommy, I'm like, yes my love, yes my love, yes my love, and the nanny's like, really, she said, I have to tell you, it's really amazing. You're so patient. And every time he calls you, and that can happen like 60 times in an hour, you're like, yes, my love. Yes, my love. And she was floored. She was like floored. I'm like, but if you adopt it, it becomes a second nature, and you don't think about it. Exactly.
It only takes a month to
change it.
It only takes.
Now, another thing that I'm not sure if you're familiar with For Agreements of Don Luis Miguel, this book. So it's an amazing. Of course,
it's a fantastic book.
Exactly, and I want to frame it for a second because this is exactly the conversation, and what it says is 4 agreements that we have to act.
I live by it.
Exactly, and I really feel it from the conversation. That's why I stopped for a second for the audience who are not familiar. So it says actually 4 things, and I really hear it in the conversation. The first one is don't gossip. Don't gossip. If you have something to say to someone, just go, be upfront, and just speak it out and talk about it with a relevant person. It's much better.
We empower employees to do it as well amongst themselves. When they come to rant to mommy or daddy, we tell
mommy
them,
and mommy,
we tell them,
go
to the relevant person.
Exactly. And the second thing, which for me was really mind-blowing when I understood it, and we spoke about it just now, don't take things personally. When someone does something, he didn't do it personally to you, to offend you, to attack you. He did something because that's what was good for him or her in the same moment. He didn't want to offend you. And once we understand it, that things are not being done personally to hurt us, it's just being done the way it is, that creates a huge difference. And when you were talking about how you fight, and you were talking about the caring, and I remember I love her and I care for her, and the appreciation, so you know where things are coming from. The third thing is, don't make assumptions. Okay, people always like to think that they know what other people mean when they say something, and then we begin to tell ourselves stories and all the interpretations that we have in our minds, and really keeping it simple, stupid simple. What he said or what she said, that's what I mean. There is no further explanation, meaning, stories that we tell to ourselves. Just take it as it is. And the fourth things that you said it a lot, just do your best. Be the best that you can in every situation. And it's not a best comparing to others. It's a best comparing to yourself, to who you are. Just bring your utmost, do the best that you can. And I really think, first of all, that you speak this language, and it's beautiful. I really appreciate it. And for the listeners, really to adopt those 4 principles, embrace it into our lives, I really think it creates a lot of difference.
By the way, to do your best, I also use it with the kids. I tell them, if they're frustrated or they're frustrated with me or I didn't give enough attention or whatever it is, I'm telling them, there's one mommy, there are 5 children, or maybe in that situation there were 2 children or 3 children or 4 children, whatever it was. And and mommy's also doing her best.
So really talking about the children. You have 5, you have 4, I have 3. I always feel that I have the most 3 children, but then you came and you have more, so it's like, how do you manage it? I mean, you run a lot of money, you manage a lot, 2 funds, you work with
3.
lots of investors and founders and lots of commitments, and 4 or 5 children at home, and husbands who are also very busy and packed with their own things. So really, how do you manage it? Because it's not easy, and it's really important for you to bring it that it's not easy. You work in making it happen, right?
I think, first and foremost, both Shelly and I have decided very, very early on, that we are career driven, and it's important to us to work and be independent and strong women. And this started, out very young, and it carries through, and I know that it will continue to carry through, and our families know it. Like, our children know it, that mommy's working, that mommy has to go to New York because mommy has work, or whatever it is. So it is what they know, that mommy has work. So there is respect around that, I feel, at home. There's no aggravation or feeling that it comes on anyone's expense, because this is kind of like part of who I am. And I think at the same time, both Shelly and I decided very, very early on that it's not either or. We're not going to choose, and we're not going to do things one after the other. We're going to do things in parallel, and we're going to run a successful business, and we're going to have a successful family life. And it's important to us. It's part of, it's part of who I am. And I wanted a big family since I was young. I didn't necessarily knew that I'm going to have 5 kids, but I wanted 4 kids. And Yoni knows that I wanted 4 kids very, very early on. I'm coming from a family of 3. And in every point in time, like, I was abroad, or my younger brother, he was in med school abroad, or whatever it was. And I always felt, the house there was maybe only one of us for long periods of time in the house. And I always knew that I wanted a little bit more. Or maybe I'm just like an overachiever, a baby overachiever.
Overachiever mommy.
Yeah. But it's, we won't lie. It's not easy. It's not easy. It sometimes looks on the outside that it's really easy, but it's a lot of work.
But for example, okay, we can manage it, but in the moments that one of your girls or boys needs you, and mommy, I need something, or I want you to come with me to this activity or something, and you can't. You can't because you're at New York, or now you have a board meeting. So mentally and emotionally, how do you manage this, the trade-offs? Because
I forgive myself.
You forgive yourself?
Yeah, I forgive myself. I think I'm great. My kids love me.
I'm doing my best.
I'm doing my best. And really, I really feel also that I find time for them. So today we have a long day. We're going to finish the day at 9 p.m. But I had another 3 days this week where I actually came relatively early and I put them to sleep, and I actually got time to spend a few minutes with each of them. And it's all good. It's fine. They got everything they need. They got love. They got, one of the things when you have a lot of kids and they're small, there's a lot of logistics because everybody has like their different extracurricular activities, play dates, birthdays, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like managing a company, managing the help, the people that are going to be driving, the babysitter, the person that's cooking the dinner, getting the groceries. There's a lot of logistics around that. And actually being an entrepreneur and building a company helped a lot with learning how to kind of deal with people and retain your talent at home as well. There's a lot of insights that you can take away. But really, I think the point of being there when you're needed, and because we're entrepreneurs, we actually have more flexibility in that sense. Even more than when I used to work when I worked at Goldman, I couldn't even schedule a dentist appointment. I couldn't even make the laundry. But actually, because it's our business, if a child is sick, we can get up and leave, and we can be wherever we need to be, and we can also adjust our flights based on what's required. And that's actually one of the advantages of being an entrepreneur. And I actually listened to a very interesting book that helped me in this respect. It's called The One Thing. And one of the insights there is that if you want to be successful in life or in your career, it doesn't work kind of being in a 9-to-5 kind of framework. And you have to understand that you have many kind of balls in the air. Let's say one is friends, one is family, one is your career, one is your health. And he said something very interesting, two insights that I took from that. So in these balls, then all the balls except for career are glass. Career is rubber. So when you're juggling this, it's very important that you're not dropping the ball on health, friendship, family, because there are different entrepreneurs that says now I'm dedicating my whole life to my career, and when I'm 60, when I retire, I'll devote time to my family. But it doesn't work with family because your child is only going to be 2 years old one time. And you can't just wake up in the morning and say, okay, now I'm going to build my relationship with my 20-year-old kid or 30-year-old kid.
Correct.
So that's one thing. And the point about balance was very interesting because he says when you're thinking about work-life balance, you can't expect to be an entrepreneur, a successful business person on a 9-to-5 kind of schedule. But what you can do is counterbalance. And what he means by counterbalance is that if you really need to make a push and you really need to be somewhere, then sometimes you're going to be required to work for a longer stretch of time, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe you need to go abroad. Maybe you're working on a specific project that's very, very important. But when you're with your kids, when you're with your family, when you're with your friends, be with them. Like, be with them in that hour or that 2 hours that you're with them. Like, dedicate your whole self to them. And that's incredibly meaningful, and psychologists talk about it. When you have special time with your kid can be 15 minutes of a conversation, of asking them and being and not checking your phone every second. And I think that's very important. And there are different habits that you can adopt to make sure that you're doing that.
A few years ago, about the same time that I decided that I'm not raising my voice at home, I decided that I also that it was important for me that every week I have like special mommy time with one of the kids. Like every week, each one of them gets me for one-on-one.
Like every week, each one gets one-on-one, or
yes.
every week's one
every week,
child?
everyone gets.
So it's 5 dates per week.
It's 5 dates. But it could be shorter dates. And for example, like this weekend, my daughter has, she's a gymnast, she's a rhythmic gymnast, and she has a competition, and she really likes me to take, my time and to clear everybody out. Nobody's here, and I do her hair and her makeup and we organize the bag and I take her and I prep her, like give her the pep talk and I do a video of her and and she knows that I'm there, and like from all the moms she knows that she always has the pictures and she always has the best hair, and she always and all the other moms come to me, oh, do her makeup and do her makeup and do her makeup because Anne comes and she's perfect, and that's like our quality time. And even if daddy would say, I'm gonna take you, it's not the same. It's important to her that when she's there and she needs to be at her best, that I have her back. And I tell Yoni, I can't deal with anyone. We can order a babysitter, you can go, you can take them to the parents, you can do that, but I need to be with Anne. And I try to, and I try, sometimes it's late night, I'm my eldest, he goes to sleep the latest. And so kind of we snuggle in bed and how's your day? And I talk to him to kind of, he's an older kid now, he's 11. It's not the same when all the younger kids are running around, and it's a different conversation, and he needs that too. And he has his own passions and his own interests, and he wants me to help him, figure it out. He really enjoys gaming and developing, and we're thinking together about what he can do. And there are, different content that he reads that he's intrigued by, and he wants to talk it through. And so it's different. I feel like even though they're very, very close in age, because it's 5 kids in 10 years, it almost feels like it's so close. So you can take, your 11-year-old and your 9-year-old and do something together, but it's different. They're each has different needs and different interests. And you said in the very beginning that you only have 3 kids. Each kid is a universe.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. So they each have different needs, even if they're very young or very close in age. And something that it was very, very difficult to do during COVID, that we're all kind of the same house, because I used to pick them out and take them out. But it's very important. It's always in my brain, it's an agenda for us. And I know Shelly also does it and takes her youngest to ice cream or does this or does that. And
I actually had a little hack that I found out. Well, I mean, it seems kind of obvious, but it really changed my my parenting, because I used to get help, but my help would do one thing. I would let them do one thing, and then I would schlep around with 2-3 kids, and I was like, I get that's a bad trade.
Yeah,
it's a bad trade, because then even when you're 2 kids, you don't get credit for that. You don't they don't remember it. They don't feel they got attention. Then I swapped it. I let the
babysitter.
I let her take schlep
3 kids.
And I take one of them.
Just one.
I'll take just one, and then it's a whole different experience. It's a whole different experience.
Having a one-on-one. It's just by the way, with each of the employees that we manage, we have a touch base every week. It could be half an hour, it could be an hour, depending on what's most pressing. But we take the time to see what's on their plate and how they're dealing, and if they need our help or whatever it is. And so we take some of that discipline to home. So every week. So how is of course there's the small talk, whatever, on the way to somewhere, but to be present and to bring yourself, to bring the value, right? Also to them, they deserve it. And they get less, quote unquote, of our time, but the value needs to be there.
Definitely. It's all about value.
Mm-hmm.
So from children to your spouses, so how do you manage it? Both having very successful partners, and sometimes there cannot be such a conversation of I'm busier or at the end sometimes you need to fight on the time, right? Because
you need to fight.
That also
doesn't happen.
No, how do you manage it time-wise and the dependencies and what's more important if the two of you needs to be abroad, and is there this kind of conversation, or I need to be now on the front, or I need to be now more at home? How do you manage it?
Go ahead.
Don't
you
fight.
can start. You can start.
It's okay. You can. I think my husband and I we have this great dance where we're both kind of helping out and doing what we can. One thing I realized that that works best is that, you know, one of us is there. It's, you know, we don't both need to be there for all the kind of end of day rituals and start stepping on each other's toes. And it's, I mean, it's similar to, you know, the partnership that Mor and I have. She has a different way of doing things. He has a different way of doing things than me. And when I'm there and he's doing it, it just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. Like,
Prefer not to be there.
I prefer not to be there, to be honest.
No, I totally.
And you know, they take a shower and they make a mess, and then they come out and they have a second dinner, and then they play a game, and then they go. And I said, you know,
have fun. I'll come back later.
Exactly. And then I spare the experience. And when I do it, it's, you know, it's different, and I have my way, and it works for me, and we each really, you know, cover for each other, and it works really well. And there are things that he does, and there are things that I do, and we kind of built it together, and we really share the responsibilities.
And for you, if Yoni needs to be abroad, and same with you, and it's both like urgent, how do you manage those kind of situations?
I remember that before we even had children, and he would constantly fly. He could be in 4 different places in a month. Like, he would really have very, very intense trips. And to a point where, by the way, his family thought we might never have kids because he's constantly traveling. I'm like, that didn't help. So that didn't hold up like 6 months. But never mind. But so he's constantly traveling, and I remember I told him, like, you know, you do what you need to do. All good. Do what you need to do. It's not like, you know, there are 3 kids at home waiting for you. That's, you know. And even when there were 3 kids at home, I still told him, you know, you do what you need to do, and it's all going to be fine. And I always, I never want him to have that. He never flies with that guilt trip. He never has to be on a business meeting and travel across the world knowing that he just left, you know, grumpy wife at home that's like, oh, you know, why did you just leave me with all this stuff? It's never the case. It's never the case. I'm incredibly supportive of his career. He knows it. And I was there when it was, you know, just him. And he's incredibly supportive of me and Shelly. And I think I'm also really, really lucky that he understands everything that we're going through and everything we'll probably invest in. And we really enjoy talking about work or solving that puzzle together. And he would always, you know, give us the good advice. Also, Kfir. He has an amazing ability to always see the other side. And he's really a very good mediator. And we really enjoy talking, you know, the 4 of us, and talking about the business, our business, something we want to invest in, whatever it might be. And sometimes people see it from the outside, and they say, like, do you guys ever talk about anything else? Or like, what do you guys talk about at home?
Do you,
and, like,
or it's all the time just about business?
But it's not about business. It's life. Exactly. It's our life. You know, he's an entrepreneur, and he's been an entrepreneur. We've been together 20 years. This is who he is and what he does. And he's very innovative, and he's really smart, and I enjoy listening to him talk. I learn. I enjoy seeing how he clicks differently, and it's inspiring. And to me, I enjoy talking to him about my work, and he always gives me, you know, he's a great sounding board, and he would always also give me the stage if anyone comes to him and wants him to, you know, consider an investment, or, you know, and pick his brain about something. He's like, investments, that's iAngels. This is how we do investments. Like in the Assia house, it's like iAngels, go to iAngels. And I admire that. Like, he doesn't try to steal the thunder. He always bring us
the stage.
Oh, he wants us to do well, but also it's how we divide the world. It's like he does his thing, and
you make investments.
Exactly, he does capital markets, and we do private markets, and this is how we, you know, rule the world. And with home, I think the more expectation you have that the spouse or partner will come and pick up slack, the more you get aggravated. Don't assume, and don't expect. And if you are leading this, if you're the leader or the champion, lead it. If you need to delegate, delegate. And if you get surprise value, be happy. Because if he comes in and, and he throws a mess and everybody goes to sleep late, or if I'm abroad and I come home and I'm like, the house is in shambles and the kids are like, he sends me, one time I was abroad and he sent me a really, really happy picture of Ari, that he made it to kindergarten on time and he was thrilled. And I'm like, okay, why is he wearing shorts and socks with sandals and it's raining out? And his hair is like, so I'm like, he sent me this. It was thrilled. He was so proud. Everybody, yeah, exactly. And he said, this is what he tells me. It's like everybody's alive.
And I'm sure Ari was happy.
Of course he was happy. He was thrilled. Daddy took him to kindergarten. Could not be happier. On his shoulders or on the scooter without a helmet, with a helmet. Doesn't matter. They're thrilled. And Yoni's like, what? They're all alive. Say thank you. I'm like, thank you.
But actually, it's very true. If you're leading in, and I plan the week so that he doesn't have to do anything. And then he says, okay, I want to come early today, or I want to do this. And then I find immediately something that he can do that he will get value.
Exactly.
And then it just works. It works great.
So we'll have to hit the pause soon, although this is a fascinating conversation and we can learn so much about, leadership and being moms and also career women, etc. And so if you go back to the young Shelly and to the young Mor, the ballerina, and you look nowadays to the future, like, first of all, to the present, what you've built, and where is it going to? So what is your Polaris, the North Star? Where is iAngel going, and where do you lead it to in the next future, the near future?
It's a good question.
I don't. It's funny. It's going to sound a little bit weird, but I really don't, like, in my day-to-day, I'm not trying to get anywhere. Like, I'm not going anywhere. It's just, we're doing what we're doing. As Mor said, this is our life, and we're giving it everything we have, and we love what we built, and we love our company and our life, and working with entrepreneurs and investing, and it's really an incredible ride. And as you said, you have ups and you have downs, and we've already had so much of them that we know how to look at things in perspective, and B, we really try to embrace it, even the challenges, because even I think of the some of the challenges that we had in the past, we've really learned a lot and grew a lot from them. So yeah.
I think sometimes we have this it's like going back and forth, many years. It's already a joke. It's because in the early days, we used to invest very, very small amounts. Like, the majority of the funds are really from recent years, and we're managing almost 400 million. And I remember we used to say, years ago, it's like, what do you think will happen if we, manage $1 billion? And we would say it's not an if, it's when. Because, it will happen. And as Shelly said, we're trying to come every day and be, and be in our element and do the best job we can, and also have fun, because this is our life and you need to enjoy what you do. And if you enjoy your job, you don't work a day in your life, right? And this is really our mantra. We want to partner with founders that we enjoy working with, because these are meaningful partnerships that can last many, many years. If things go well, we'll be partners for life. And so we from the get-go, we want to partner with people that we think we'll have a strong relationship with and we'll have fun, engaging. And we want to bring to our organization employees who are passionate about what we do, and they want to, run the marathon with us and be with us for many years. And it's a very, very challenging climate, because people are kind of bouncing and and they're edgy, and last year we had 100% retention. Nobody left our organization in the most demanding, competitive climate Israel has seen probably in the last decade. So for us, it really means a lot. It really says something that everybody feels they're where they need to be. And we feel, the same way. So obviously we're growing the business and we have plans for the future, but we're building it in a way that because we know that this is where we want to be in our 40s or 50s.
You're already there. You are where you're
there.
You just said, in your element, and you love what you do, and it's really shown up from the smile and from being very authentic about the things that works and those that also more challenging, and doing it together. And I enjoy this conversation. I mean, you enjoy your day to day and what you do. And I really even I always say that we learn from each situation, from each conversation, interaction. We can always take something. So I also took some small things from you from this conversation, and I really had lots of fun talking to you today. So thank you so much for coming here. And I really hope that young women, and not even young, maybe even like 30s, 40s, they have so much to learn from your passion, belief in yourself, and the way you work together. And I really find it really inspiring, and this is why I think more people should be, leaders and be in the front lines and in the board of directors, etc. Because the communication and the empathy and the ability to work together and the less ego and understanding how to collaborate, all the things that we spoke about, really makes a difference in the way we lead companies, in the way we lead society. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having us
so much. We really enjoyed it too. You gave us a pocket of time today to reflect and enjoy.
It was a quality time for the two of you together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like going to therapy or something. This was. You go, girl. You were good today.
So to the listeners who would like to be in touch with you, where they can reach you?
www.iAngels.com. No, but seriously, you can also email us, Shelly at iAngels.com or Mor at iAngels.com. And
looking forward,
Great. Thank you again to our lovely listeners. We're going to hit pause until the next episode. It's also something I say to the entrepreneurs in my clinic in between sessions. If you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with people who you think would derive value from it. Thank you to the amazing studios at the Google campus who allows us to record all this content in here. And to Neil, feel free to visit my website at galiblochliran.com and leave your details there if you wish to be updated and learn more about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Also, be sure to follow my podcast, The Human Founder, in any of your podcast apps. Let's hit pause. Till next time. It was fun.
Thank you.
Bye.